Well, all right, everyone, and welcome to this inaugural episode of what's going to be uh, a soccer, I guess, a podcast, vlog. I don't know what you want to call it. Not definitely not a vlog. It's not a video, but definitely gonna be talking about football. Definitely gonna be talking about that. It's gonna be focused, I guess, around the teams that I follow the most. In this case, right now we're on international break, and we're talking, of course, about CONCACAF qualifying. Um, Mostly, I'm going to be talking about Mexico today. Recently, coming off that 2-1 victory in Columbus, which, of course, a lot of people are making a big deal about. I do want to touch on that. Well, in my opinions on that, I understand that it was a big selling point for the U.S. team. 13 years, I think, 4 games in a row, 2-1, 2-0. We know the marketing campaign. Definitely wanted to get it going in the minds of the American fans because it was a big deal for them, and you know, fair enough. I can't fault them for wanting to remind everyone. But if you had looked at the previous meaningful matches between the two countries, it, uh, they like to talk, and I say they, the U.S. Soccer Federation, the U.S. Soccer fans, and in the U.S. soccer media, they like to talk about some sort of parity between the teams, on the field equality in the last decade or so. But I mean, that's if you count friendlies. And I understand Mexico and the United States don't have friendlies, and it's never a game that you want to lose ever at any point. However, if you do look at the recent history in games that matter, not friendlies, there is a distinct advantage to one team that wears green and a disadvantage to another team. So I'm not going to get into that very much. I mean, look, the rivalry is what it is, and I don't think you can try to spin it however you want to make it seem like the teams are more even. They're not. They're not even. Like I said, just look at the last Gold Cup finals. You got the little CONCACAF Cup, that little ridiculous CONCACAF Cup that should have never existed, and then the previous Gold Cup meetings, and you're looking at that. So CONCACAF Cup was 3-2. I believe the one before that, the Gold Cup final, was 4-2 in favor of Mexico, and the one before that, was it the 5-0? Maybe it was 5-1. I don't remember. Point being, is there really parity between the teams on the field? I don't think so. I didn't. There's something to be said about home field advantage, and I definitely think that the weather and the stadium and the fans, the proximity of the fans to the pitch, definitely played a role in keeping Columbus kind of a fortress for the United States national soccer team, much like it's incredibly difficult to go and play in Costa Rica or Honduras and places like that. So I mean, a lot of people don't understand the home field advantage. If a team is better, they should just be better no matter what no matter where you're playing. But there is something to it, and the psychologists have there is something to it, um, something intangible, whether it is the players themselves psyching themselves out. Who knows? But Columbus had been a place where Mexico had not won, and there's nothing taking. You can't take anything away from that. The United States had gone since what, 2003 or 2001 without losing a home World Cup qualifying game, which is pretty impressive in and of itself. But on paper, Mexico had the better team from top to bottom. The only one you could say maybe was comparable, the player that's comparable is Pulisic. And, he's 18. He's not the finished article, but he's definitely an exciting player, very exciting to watch. But, aside from that, maybe Howard is a better keeper than Talavera. I think it's arguable these days, since Howard has kind of fallen out of favor in Europe. And, I mean, Talavera is not the best keeper Mexico has. He's better in the air, which is why he was played on Friday. But if you look up and down the field, other than that, we can't really compare the two sides. Um, I mean, no offense to Jose Altidore, but he is not Raúl Jimenez. He is not Hernandez, and he is not Carlos Vela. He's not on the same tier as those players even. It's not that they're on the same tier and the Mexicans are a little bit better. He's not even on the same tier as them. And in the midfield, again, the U.S. doesn't have Guardado or Hector Herrera or even Jonathan Dos Santos. You just don't. They don't. You don't have players playing the same level at all when you look at the two rosters. Again, with the exception of Pulisic, who is a phenomenal player. So on paper, there was no question. However, you can never take away what the home field advantage could mean. But that's said and done. It's over, and we have to move on. And moving forward, we're looking at the Panama Mexico game, which is coming up tonight. So that to me is a very tough game. Playing in Panama, playing in the U.S. was always going to be difficult. Not because of the specific streak the U.S. had against Mexico, but because the United States doesn't lose qualifiers at home. That's why. But you're talking about going to Panama and playing. That's also a very tough place, especially since 2013 Gold Cup semifinal, which, hashtag never forget for the Panamanians, and they have not forgotten since that day. They've made it very clear that they haven't forgotten, and even though some interviews today they were talking about it's over for us, it's in the past, and we're not talking about it, they're lying. They're still thinking about it, and they've come out every game since then. They've come out absolutely vicious. It's sickening how nasty and horrible and violent they've come out, and I'm genuinely more afraid of coming out of this game with 2 or 3 injuries than I am about losing. As a Mexico fan, I think the last game that we had, the one Mexico won 1-0, was a friendly, I believe, back in earlier this month. I think, in fact, or no, it was on October. Was it October? I think it was October. And I'm actually surprised no one got hurt. I think the refereeing was abysmal that day. It was just one of the most dirty games I've ever seen, in terms of one team is clearly going out to not play football and just hurt each other. It was disgusting. It was absolutely awful. That's what I had to say about that particular. The rivalry, it means more to them than it does to Mexico, obviously, but that goes without saying, because that's usually how it is in these kinds of games. You have the one team that's dominant, and then the teams that are trying to beat the dominant team. And I'm not saying like, oh, Mexico's so dominant. I'm just saying in the Mexico-Panama matchups over the years, Mexico has been far more dominant in every category. It has recently been more even. You have the Panama that beat Mexico in the 2011 Gold Cup semifinals, I think it was. Panama won, ended up playing the U.S. in the final. And then, they have been more even in the past, but I think that 2013 Gold Cup semifinal really made them angry, and they're coming out to hurt. They've been coming out to hurt. I don't understand why, but whatever. The last 2 games we've played them, we've won 1-0 both times, and I think that you know, we're going to their house, and they keep saying, well, we're over that Gold Cup game, and I don't believe them. I don't believe them at all. I think they're going to come out the same way they've been coming out against Mexico for the last few games, and I think it's going to be really, really dirty. I think it's going to be really, really dirty. Um, you can, I guess you can not agree with that, but I just don't see a, I just don't see how they come out and play football. Not at their house, not at home, not at Panama. So I mean, so we have the last two friendlies that were 1-0 Mexico. Yeah, that after that, I mean before that, prior, you had that Mexico 2-1 Gold Cup semifinal, infamous. And look, I was the first one when I was watching the game. I was actually in Nicaragua at the time, and I didn't feel like we played very well throughout the game. I felt like Panama during the game were a better team. They played better than us. They completely, with one man down, almost the entire game, outplayed us top to bottom. And I definitely think the penalty kick that sent the game into overtime was a gift. I didn't think it was a foul. I didn't think it was a penalty. I didn't. And I'm a Mexico fan, Mexico supporter, and I did not think it was a penalty. Once the game was in extra time, anything could happen. And the second penalty was a penalty. I don't think the second penalty was controversial at all. The controversy, of course, being that we shouldn't have gotten to that point in the first place. And I understand that, and I don't disagree with that. They were the better team. We were supposed to walk all over them, and we should have. And we didn't, because I don't know. I guess maybe seeing, oh, they're one man down. We got this, and then within a few minutes of the red card, which I don't think was controversial either. The guy elbowed. What was his name? I forgot his name. Was it Tejada? I don't remember who it was. He elbowed. He elbowed. Was it a harsh red? Yeah, but was it? I mean, did I say in no universe is that a red card? No, of course not. I thought it was a yellow when I saw it. I saw the replay, obviously hundreds of times. I still think it was a yellow card, but I wasn't thinking it's not a red card in any definition of what a red card is. It definitely could have been a red card. I thought it was a yellow, but Mark Geiger thought it was a red, and he sent him off, and I don't think they had anything to complain about. And then they had nothing to complain about as they outplayed us until the very end, when Mark Geiger gave us the penalty kick that we did not deserve. We didn't play well. We didn't deserve a get-out-of-jail-free card. He gave it to us, and then we took advantage. And I think Mexico were the better team in extra time. Obviously, they were tired after playing almost the entire game with only 10 men. And the second penalty was definitely handball. And it was harsh because Panama felt like they were cheated out of a victory, and I don't disagree, but the second penalty was a penalty. And Guardado did what he does. He put the ball in the back of the net, and game over. And then I felt like Panama should have been angry. Panama should have been upset. But I lost a lot of respect for them, the way they handled themselves during the ending of the game. And I felt like ever since then, they've been out on a mission to really, I don't know, show Mexico what's what. I don't understand why they come out the way they come out. It's not our fault. It's not the players' fault. We didn't give ourselves the penalty kick. The referee did. And the last time we had a game against them, and they're like, if Mike Geiger shouldn't be the ref, and I thought that was extremely unprofessional and petty and childish of them. And lately, we've seen them. That's how they are. Basically, I guess is what I'm saying. I've lost a lot of respect for their soccer players and their federation. But looking at them right now, they just came out of Honduras. I think it was an away game, and they ended up winning. So that was very impressive for them. Honduras is a very, very difficult place to play. And coming out of that with a win is extremely important for them. They're going to be riding high, but Mexico's be riding high as well. They have a lot of really good players that have, you know, been CONCACAF mainstays for a while. You have, obviously Tejada, who is an amazing player. You have Blas Perez, who I particularly don't care for as a person, but what are you going to do? He's a good player. Um, so you have Godoy, their midfielder, who is obviously also very good player. Armando Cooper, and I think the midfield forward, strike force is a good one. And I think I heard that Baloy is injured, so he might not be playing, which is a boost. Then again, Mexico have an injury in Guardado, who's Mexico's best player by a mile. And you have a suspension, which I'm not going to get into that second yellow for Salcedo for time wasting, which, in my opinion, was a really stupid decision by the referee. Obviously, biases aside, if you're going to give a yellow card for time wasting, you got to warn the player first. You don't just go up and give a yellow card, especially when that player already has a yellow, and especially when you're already in extra time and you can just add time to that. At the same time, I think he was stupid for time wasting. We didn't need it. At the point where the goal fell and Marquez scored the goal, we were, handily in charge of the game. But whatever. If anyone, it doesn't matter. If a U.S. player had gotten a yellow card in the same way, I also would have thought it was stupid. I think it was a stupid yellow card to give. I thought it was a bad decision by the referee, who I did not think had a particularly good game. But CONCACAF refs are not very good, so that's not an indictment on him as a person. I just think we as a region have poor refs. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so Panama, coming off a very good win against Honduras. Their previous game was that 1-0 loss against Mexico. And then they had the 3-1 setback against Costa Rica, who are looking very good. And then they beat Jamaica before that. So those are their last few games, their last four. Before that, they tied Guatemala 0-0 in a friendly. And that is in all competitions. But they're definitely coming in. It's been a mixed bag, obviously. If you just look at their World Cup qualifiers, though, they've only lost one and drawn one in this cycle. So going back to early this year, they ended up tying Haiti, which was not good for them, but it ended up not being that big of a deal. They tied Haiti 0-0, and then in the return leg, they ended up beating Haiti. They did beat Jamaica, lost to Costa Rica, but then they just recently, and then obviously they qualified to the Hex, and then beat Honduras Friday, which was a huge deal for them. So it's not going to be an easy game. It's not going to be an easy game at all. Gold Cup qualifying, not Gold Cup, World Cup qualifying for Mexico, obviously, was solid. Despite all the naysayers and negative Nancy's out there. You had the 3-0 win against Canada, which apparently I didn't know this, but this was the first win against Canada Mexico had in like 2 decades. So that was a solid win. And then Mexico comes home and plays Canada at home, and everyone expected Mexico to kill them like 18-0, and it was only 2-0. And, the press and the fans were like, fire the coach. He can only beat Canada 2-0. It's a 2-0 win. It wasn't the most exciting game, but whatever. It was a win. Mexico then went to El Salvador and beat El Salvador 3-1. Tied Honduras at home, but already having qualified as the number 1 team in the previous round. And then recently beating the United States 2-1. So Mexico's coming off some very good results. anything I say, it's already tainted by bias. I understand, but I mean, we have the best team in the region. We have the most talented players. So going to Panama, it's going to be tough because of the environment, because of the stadium and the crowd and the throwing of the things at us while we're on the field. I get that and I understand that, and I obviously it matters. But we should beat Panama today. We should beat Panama. We shouldn't have any problem, even without Carlos Vela, who is going to apparently have a baby and he's leaving. Guardado's obviously injured, and Carlos Salcedo is suspended. So even despite those things, I think I don't know. Osorio goes back to a back four with. I'd like to see Jonathan Dos Santos, Herrera, and Marco Fabian play a little. Maybe that's a little too attacking, not defensive enough. I don't know. Um, Maybe Orbelin Pineda instead. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do in the midfield, but I think if you put any of Hernandez, Gio, Jimenez, Corona, or even Chucky Lozano up top, any combination thereof, whether it's a two up top or three, that is a front line that no team in CONCACAF can say that they can match. Nobody has the attacking firepower that Mexico has. And defensively, definitely some questions. I know I keep saying bench Rafa Marquez. I love the guy. I mean, he's kind of like Clint Dempsey for the U.S. I think Dempsey needs to. I mean, obviously he has that heart problem, which is really unfortunate for him. Even though I hate his guts, I don't want him to die or go out like that, but have to retire because of health issues. But I think I would put him as somebody that needs to step down and let the younger people take over. But he keeps scoring goals and being involved in U.S. wins, and so he's never going to get dropped. He's not going to get dropped until he stops performing, and he doesn't stop. He keeps going, and he's never going to get replaced. As long as he's healthy, he's not going to get replaced. And I feel the same way about Rafa Marquez, who I think is the greatest player to come out of CONCACAF ever, by far. And I know Hugo Sanchez and all that, but I think Rafa Marquez is, and still, I mean, he's still doing it, but he's 37 years old. He needs to retire. He needs to retire, and I say that, and yet yesterday, or Friday, he scored the game winner. And he scored in the last World Cup. And it's hard to make a case to sit him out because he keeps performing, and it's extremely frustrating because, like I said, I love the guy. He needs a statue built in his honor in Mexico City, but he needs to retire. And I think he's a liability, even though he still has the heart to play. I just don't know how I feel. We need to let the younger players come up, because if you look at the core of the team, like the very best players that we have right now, they're all 25 and older. The best players, I mean, obviously besides Corona and Lozano, they're both Corona's 23 and Lozano's 21, but everyone else is 25 or older. So Hector Moreno, our best defender, he's 28. Rafa Marquez, like I said, is 37. You have Jesus Dueñas, who I don't really like very much, but he's 27. Guardado, 30. Okay. Herrera, the Porto player, 26. Marco Fabian, 27. Jonathan Dos Santos, 26. Gio Dos Santos, 27. Jimenez, 25. Even Peralta, the striker, 32. Carlos Vela, 27. Chicharito Hernandez, 28. That's the core of our team. Oh, and let not forget Miguel Layun, who's one of our best players, I think. Also, he's 28. And coming up, who's the youth? You got Corona, like I said, 23. Chucky Lozano, 21. That's it. I mean, Carlos Salcedo, who obviously is a very good player, very good defender, plays for Fiorentina. He's only 23. Diego Reyes, who is a very good defender. I mean, he didn't used to be, but I think he is getting better now. He's 24. And that's it. Everyone else is older. Obviously, this is the best team we have, without question. But you got to start thinking 4 or 5 years down the line, these guys are not going to be playing anymore. So, who's coming up. I'm very concerned about the next World Cup. Obviously, I think this is going to be a good World Cup. We'll qualify. But this is, I don't know. Who can say if Rafa Marquez is 37, he's the only player to ever play for Mexico 4 World Cups in a row. And Guardiola could play this World Cup, and then the next one, he'd be like, what, 33, 34? But after that, you can't imagine that he's going to be able to do it anymore. And in 4 years, Herrera's going to be 30, and all the other guys that I mentioned, the forwards, are going to be over 30 as well. And I'm not saying, the future, who's coming up? I don't know. I don't know who's coming up. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. Very briefly, I do want to talk about the U.S. team, because as much as I'm obviously a Mexico fan, the U.S. is playing tonight against Costa Rica, and it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. Nobody wins in Costa Rica. Mexico's done it once, and it was very difficult. And the U.S. has never done it, and it's going to be incredibly difficult. That said, can they do it? I don't know. I have this thing with it's a love-hate relationship with Jurgen Klinsmann. Obviously he's not the coach of my team, but I love him because he's a Tottenham Hotspur former player, and that is the club I support the most. So he'll always have a place in my heart as a Tottenham former player, but he's such a terrible manager. I kind of like him for the U.S. I think the more that the U.S. keeps Jurgen Klinsmann, the less they're going to be a threat in the region to us being Mexico. If I'm looking at the U.S. roster, the midfield is the weak point. Michael Bradley is a scrub, and Jermaine Jones is a scrub. And who are you gonna have? I don't know. Who's gonna man the midfield? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about that. You got Christian Pulisic, who's 18, freaking phenomenal, future of the team for sure, and he's really good. But he's not a holding midfielder. He's not going to take Michael Bradley's spot. He's not going to take Jermaine Jones' spot. He's a winger. Who's going to play in the middle? Bradley's getting up there like 30 almost, and Jermaine Jones is over 30, and he shows his age. He's slow and clumsy and cumbersome. So I don't know. You guys tell me. I don't know. I have no idea. And the defense doesn't look good. You have I don't know. That is the question mark. Bobby Wood's obviously good. Green is good, and Morris is good. They're very young, but they're talented. And obviously Pulisic is incredibly talented, but still very young. But once Bradley goes, and Fabian Johnson goes, and Mr. Pedophile Mustache, Sasha Kleshton, however you say his name, goes, and Jermaine Jones can't go soon enough, who's going to take over the midfield? I don't think Jurgen Klinsmann knows what he's doing. And long may it continue, to be honest with you. But I think it's going to be a very tough game for the U.S. to win in Costa Rica, a place they've never won, a place where Costa Rica has, I think, only lost once, and that was against Mexico. Either that or that was the first time Mexico has won in Costa Rica, and that was, I think, last year. That was obviously not a game that they expect to lose, much like the U.S. doesn't lose at home, Mexico doesn't lose at home, Honduras doesn't lose at home, Costa Rica doesn't lose at home. But these fortresses are kind of crumbling. Mexico lost recently, obviously, in Mexico City. It's something that hadn't happened in anyone's lifetime, and they did it twice. Costa Rica did it, and then Honduras did it. And then we ended up going to Honduras and beating them at home, which is something we had never done. And Costa Rica would beat Costa Rica at home, something that hadn't never happened. And then we come to the U.S. and beat the U.S. in a World Cup qualifier, which hadn't happened in decades. So, yeah. Costa Rica's coming off some really good results. They're undefeated in their last 5 in all competitions. And, they've been good games. They beat Trinidad and Tobago in Trinidad. They beat Russia recently. They beat Panama in World Cup qualifying last round. They beat Haiti. and then they ended up beating Colombia in the Copa America recently. Before that, as far as World Cup qualifiers go, their last blip was a 1-1 draw against Jamaica in Jamaica. So they're on fire, and I think Costa Rica is going to be a very tough team to beat at home. Um, you still have, I mean, Brian Reese is getting up there in age, but that doesn't mean anything. You got Joel Campbell, who a little overrated in my eyes. Um, but you still have solid midfield and solid defense, and obviously you have Keylor Navas, the keeper, who plays for Real Madrid. Um, so that's going to be that. I mean, that's a solid keeper. And they're playing very well as a unit. Maybe they don't have the big household names that the U.S. That the U.S. fans may know, but it's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be a tough one for the U.S. to win. I really don't think the U.S. is gonna win tonight. And that's not just, like I said, everything I say is tainted with bias but I mean that. I mean, I just don't see it. And on the other hand, if Mexico can come out, I said if Mexico can come out of these first two away games with 4 points, that would be solid. And now we're looking at a potential 6 point turnaround. First few games here, so I think that's pretty impressive. I'm very excited. I think we're going to beat Panama. I think we can, and I think the U.S. can. I think the U.S. has more talent than Costa Rica, but I think Jurgen Klinsmann has a way of fudging the bucket, and I just don't see it happening. But yeah, that's my predictions definitely tonight. I think Costa Rica is going to grind out a victory 1-0. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. But I don't know. Maybe 2-1. I don't think it's going to be like anything crazy, like Costa Rica beat US 4-0 and Jurgen Klinsmann gets fired. Nothing like that. That's no. Definitely, I think they're going to win. They're at home, and I think they're going to win. I think Mexico can do it. I think Mexico can draw something out of this game against Panama, even though I am afraid someone's going to get hurt. But I think Mexico can win that game. Much like the U.S. can win in Costa Rica because they're more talented. Mexico should win in Panama because we're far more talented. As far as the other games, I'm going to touch up on those super quickly. I haven't been following the other teams very closely. Honduras is hosting Trinidad and Tobago. I don't see Trinidad and Tobago getting a result in Honduras. I just don't see that. I said the other games. There's only one other game, and that's this one. I just don't see Trinidad going to Honduras and winning. People don't win in Honduras, is what I'm saying. I mean, obviously it happened last game, but it's not something that happens often. And I just don't see them beating Honduras at home, despite everything. Trinidad and Tobago, very physical team, very fast, but I just don't see them winning in Honduras. That's just my opinion. I mean, you can agree or disagree, and I think you could have an argument for saying that, yeah, TNT can win there. This is not the same Honduras of 4 years ago. They were I thought they were the biggest challenger to the U.S. and Mexico maybe 8 years ago. Not so much. I don't fear them like I used to. I really don't. I don't think they have any players that are of that quality that you say, wow, they're very, very good, and you need to watch out for them. I think they're gonna end up being the weakest team in the Hex. I think they'll end up 6. Maybe TNT and them will swap up 5 and 6. I don't know, but I think they're definitely the weakest team, and that's just my opinion. Again, you can say it's got a hint of bias, but whatever. That's my opinion. So those are my predictions. I think Honduras gets the win today. I do think Costa Rica gets the win today, and I'll predict trying not to be biased, I think we can draw Panama today. I think we can at least get a point out of there, and I think we'll come out with 4 points out of these first two games, like I had hoped. And yeah, it's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be good, and we'll get back. I don't know what I'm gonna do later for this. I'll probably get some Tottenham news going, some Premier League. I have a lot of opinions on the Premier League, and I think the Premier League is going to be very interesting this season. But we'll get to that after the international break. I think it's very exciting that Mexico got that win Friday, and I think we're going to go for another win today. But I'll predict the 1-1, maybe 2-2 draw tonight. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this hopefully first of many soccer-related podcasts on this channel. And yeah, go ahead and subscribe if you like this, and like it or comment. Tell me how much I'm wrong about the U.S. team. And anyway, thanks for listening, and until next time.